Thank you for tuning into Sistahsss, where we discuss lifestyle love with lots of laughs. We're your hosts, B.N.Z, Bree.
Hey.
Nicole.
What's going on?
And Zahirah, that's me. So first of all, we're gonna catch it up real quick. I finally watched Homecoming after all this time. You know, it's still in the top 10 though on Netflix. So people still watching. I'm not the last one. I wasn't
definitely didn't see it. I was looking this morning. It was not in top 10, but maybe yesterday.
It was at the time when I watched it. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's how I found it. I'm actually surprised by it. So it wasn't a usual Medea type movie, but you know, I see how they tried to like put the cultural references and stuff like that in there. Definitely a whole plot twist at the end, because I had I thought it was going to end very differently. So, I mean, I take back what I said. It makes up for Boo Medea and all them kind of things. It wasn't quite as bad. But so speaking of shows we're watching, Bree, Nicole and I just finished Lizzo's documentary. What is it called again, Nick?
Watch Out for the Big Girls.
Oh
yes.
And I didn't even know she had one. I
didn't either. I was, you always on the weekend trying to find something to watch, and it was like the first thing I saw. So I was like, you think of reality shows, like you're like, oh God, like it's going to be some drama. But I have to say, I was really impressed by the whole thing. Like I liked her before, but I just gained so much more respect, and like I seen myself in pieces of each of those women who was on the show. And it actually kind of like still spoke to me and made me realize that there's still some things that I need to work on in terms of loving myself completely and wholly. So I just loved how she promoted body positivity, just loving yourself how you are, and it's sometimes hard to block out the haters and, because people always look at plus size women as we're just, not beautiful just because we're overweight. So each week, like she had them do something to just learn themselves a little more, love themselves a little more. And it just was so amazing. Like I said, I just was crying and just was like, by the end, I was so happy. Like I knew them, like they was my friends. So it's just like, I never would have thought about going to see her, in concert before, not because, I didn't like her, but just not my thing. But I definitely would go to see because I feel like I have a connection to them now.
Was it a series? Was it like a 2-hour documentary? How was it?
It's like a series. So it's
like a docuseries.
Yeah, 8-9 episodes.
Okay.
And it was amazing. It really, really was.
So what were some of the activities? I mean, if you remember, I know I forget fast.
So they had one activity, like they had to do like a moving activity where like learning just to, love yourself and your body how it is, like looking at yourself in the mirror, something that's hard for me. My therapist says all the time, look at yourself in the mirror, just say kind things, and just seeing how it was hard for some of them to do it. But like, those are the things you have to do. And then like there was a glass, they did a routine and they had to write a word on the mirror that they wanted to like, just break through and like get rid of. And at the end, they like all broke through the glass and was like, they're putting this behind them. It just was like, you can tell like she had some type of like mental health experts involved in it, because they were really touching on like a lot of sore point spots or pain points for people who always felt marginalized or less than. And it just also showed that just because, you're bigger doesn't mean that you're not healthy or you can't move like someone that's, smaller than you. So I just was like, go on, girl.
It's hard to imagine Lizzo so young too, because Lizzo's, she's younger than us. And she started her career in her late 20s, and to have like this maturity about being able to embrace her body and not wanting to, I follow Lizzo on Instagram and TikTok too. So she's always been, sometimes she's a little crazy on there, but other times, like, like to Nicole's point, the whole assuming that if you're bigger, you're not healthy or you don't work out or any of those things. So like I've watched Lizzo do like, I guess, what kind of yoga is it called? The one where it builds strength, like core. And I watched her like be like on her forearms and then like lift her legs up and be in like a full like handstand, like from the core. So like it has nothing to do, one has nothing to do with the other, but her just, you hear more about the fact that even though that she's like this like champion for like body positivity, she still has her struggles. Like she still struggles with it. She's not graduated, from that. It's a constant struggle for her. But the fact that she could just pour into all of these other women, young girls, It was really good. It was really good. And the other thing too, she has all different sizes, all different shapes, all different races. And she even has a trans woman who is like going through her own transition. They did like a nude photo shoot. Like it was crazy. It's definitely the at the end of it, I think everyone who participated had left a better space, even if they didn't get like a position in her dance team or whatever. I think they still left as winners because it was a lot. Like I was the same thing. I was at home crying because you hear these people's personal stories of like body dysmorphia and like eating disorders, and like it's crazy. It was just a lot. It was a lot in a small few episodes. So I definitely would encourage anybody to go watch it. You don't have to be plus size to get something out of it, So it was really good. It was really, really good. You gonna watch it?
I'm gonna have to watch it now.
You should. You know,
it's on Amazon.
It's on Amazon. Mm-hmm. It's called Watch Out for the Big Girls, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls.
Okay.
I finished it in one night. So
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I couldn't stop watching because I'm like, you know how they do. They leave you on a cliffhanger or they got something going on. And
so
it's
you
like,
have to watch the next episode.
Yeah, like one more episode.
Exactly.
All right, well, maybe I'm gonna start watching it today, maybe.
Whenever you got time. But even the point when it could have been a spot where there was drama. There was one woman in the house and like it could have really went left, but I just loved how Lizzo addressed it and she didn't make it about drama. Like, she wanted her show to be about positivity and conflict resolution. So, and it even showed that person still needed, more time to grow and more work she had to do on herself. So I enjoyed it. I was like, I might watch it again one day, not right now.
One day. That's too emotional to go back.
Right.
So yeah, that's a definite recommend. It's a definite recommend.
Yeah. I mean, I think Lizzo, I don't follow her a whole lot. I am her, I follow her on Instagram. I think she's decent. I think sometimes she's a little over the top for me, but y'all know I'm a little bit
more reserved
in that way anyway. So I think she displays a great personality. Like she has very good ideas, and everyone should be as comfortable with themselves as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, love how what size they are.
Yes.
Yeah.
You remember the t-shirt dress that she wore to the game? They had the butt out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like how she made fun of herself with it. Like, so she was like, she brought it up on the show. And because her designer was part of one of the activities they were doing. And I just like the fact that she was like, yeah, it was over the top. And like, because I did think so. I was like, well, that's a little bit much with kids, to be at the game.
That's a little bit much with the kids.
I'm all for self-love, but keep the chicks away, Like my baby with the popcorn, So I mean,
but in reality, how many stars are over the top like that, but don't get that level of eyes on them? And it's because of her size that she's that over the top and gets that many eyes.
Yeah.
Star's been doing it for years.
Yeah,
just being over the top for no reason.
Walking around with just a nipple covering, and
yeah. But it's her size that draws all the attention.
Absolutely.
So I think that's the thing. That's the key. It's not exactly what she's wearing because everybody's been doing it for years. Mm-hmm. It is her size and how she's trying to bring light to the fact that she's okay to love herself too.
Right. She spends a lot of time naked just for that I think she's doing it. I think it obviously has a purpose. It has a purpose. That you can love anybody. And it doesn't have to, and I like the fact that she had different shapes of plus size, because a lot of times when people are doing that plus size embracing, it's one body shape. It's the Coke bottle or the, the pear shape where you have the small waist and the hips and the butt. So it's not really like a true representation of plus size bodies because they come in all shapes. Like everyone is like everybody. Small waist. Right.
Just like every single body. Yes.
That's why I love Rihanna too. That's why I will buy Fenty products, because if you go on her website, not only does she have body positivity for women, she has it for men.
All that.
She has plus size men on there. She has all kinds of shit. Every guy doesn't have a 6-pack and all that. Every woman, she just did I saw it on Instagram. She just did a campaign with a woman who was missing an arm.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that? I was like, so her and Lizzo, like, I appreciate them breaking downstairs. And I think that's why Rihanna has had such success with Fenty, because you know, when you buy lingerie and things like that, you don't see yourself in it if you're not a certain type or whatever. But she has the same piece of lingerie on someone who's size 2, someone who's size 18, someone who has this shape, someone who's like, you know, bustier but doesn't have hips. Like, you know, she has all kinds of bodies that it's like, oh no, this could actually really look good on me because I could see myself in there. So I feel like that's what Lizzo's doing silently.
And did you see Yitty got Lizzo has a new line out too called Yitty?
No.
Yes.
What is it called? Yiddy? Like a YIDDY or LIDDY?
YITTY.
Yitty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's lingerie?
Underwear.
Shapewear.
Yeah.
Right.
Shapewear. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's on her. She was modeling it on Instagram yesterday.
I gotta look it up. That's
I don't know. I don't even know if she like released it or to the stores.
I think it's like a week or so away, the launch.
Before release. Look, I'm just proud of these. I'm proud of these Black young ladies. Okay. I know Rihanna's is like our age, I think, or but you know, and even Rihanna walking around with her pregnancy, just like in all its glory. I just think it's amazing. So, you know, on one end, you have all this sort of Black woman positivity trying to counteract all of the negative stereotypes that have already been existing for forever. And I think on the other end, y'all know, I was watching the hearings for Judge Ketanji Jackson Brown. I gotta take a breath. I know that you guys didn't get to see it all like that. I was homesick one day and I was able to watch it all like 13 hours of her being I don't even know where to begin. But first, how do y'all feel about the fact that we are just getting a Black female Supreme Court justice in 2022?
I mean, we're still getting a lot of firsts. I mean, we've had a lot of firsts and we're still getting a lot of firsts. So, I mean, we set back from the beginning. So it just speaks to the fact that we were set back from the beginning, that we are still getting first in 2000.
It was really rough. I'm not gonna lie. It was really, really rough to watch it. But it spoke volumes to the fact that it's no different for a lot of people in a lot of spaces, if that makes sense. Watching this accomplished woman, I mean, she's Harvard Law grad, like editor of the Law Review, the Law Journal. And then in law school, that's a big deal, like, because to get into that position, it's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of political nonsense, whatever. So she was editor of her Law Journal. She was a sitting judge for a decade, a practicing attorney, and she was actually a defense criminal attorney. Just all this, you know, she's been doing this a while. It's not new. And they spent days and hours asking her racist and sexist questions. And that was it. There was very little about, you know, the Supreme Court is created to uphold and interpret the Constitution. And a lot of people think the Constitution is this big old document. It's not. It's like, you know, a few articles and a few amendments. It's a few pages long. Like you can read it in probably 10 minutes. It's not a huge, you know, document, but the problem is because it's not huge, a lot was left out. And as we know, the Constitution wasn't written with us in mind. So a lot of people were left out of the Constitution. So to be able to interpret it, you have to like use history. You have to try to think of the framers' intent. There's this whole process of trying to interpret it. So that in itself is a big enough job. There could have been hours and hours of questions about how she interprets the Constitution, but instead they were asking her things about critical race theory. Like, is she going to use critical race theory to make decisions? And how does she define a woman? And and they were accusing her of being soft on pedophiles, because when people were, and these were not necessarily people who were identified as pedophiles, but people who had child pornography. So people who were either in possession of or who were distributing child pornography, and that she was soft on crime because she gave them less than the mandatory, not the mandatory minimums, but less than the suggested. So when a judge is making a determination, there's a like legislative suggestion for what people should be sentenced. Then there's a prosecutorial suggestion, and then there's the probation suggest. Like, so a lot of people make a suggestion about what should happen in sentencing. And so the way she sentenced was in line with how judges sentence every day. Like, you know, she didn't do anything different. So they pulled out 10 of her 500 and something cases and like badgered her. I mean, they had like big old poster boards printed out.
And now who is they? Because
they is the Republicans. To be exact, the Republicans on the judicial committee were basically out for blood for her. And you know, at one point, the chairman of the committee had to intervene because Ted Cruz, who got his own problems, Ted Cruz is the same one who disappeared during the whole craziness that was going on in Texas. Remember when they got snow and like they didn't have electricity and he went on vacation?
Mm-hmm.
That's Ted Cruz. So he was the one really leading the charge for like just trying to destroy this woman. And towards the end, like the last day, she ended up in tears. Because it was just, I guess it was too much and you have to release somehow. And Cory Booker is kind of the one who made her start crying because he didn't ask her any questions, but he was just like, I see you. Like, I see you and I understand. And this is, you know, you've taken some extremely disrespectful questions and all. He just kind of was trying to encourage her. And it was nice to see it happen, but it was just so unfortunate to watch what she was going through. So it just made me think of like, what do y'all think of like Black women in non-Black spaces? And as women, as Black women, have you ever been in spaces like that where you were questioned for your credentials or, you know, just questioned because as a person who wasn't qualified just because of the way that you looked?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an everyday experience for Black women in the workforce and in a certain arenas where I think we always feel like we have to come up to a certain level when we're really already at that level. You don't have to prove yourself to anybody. However, the world makes you feel like you have to prove yourself.
I agree. And unfortunately, nothing was surprising to me about it. Like, I knew that's what it was going to be, which is why, you know, for me, I just didn't want to tune in too much because, like I said, these are the lived experiences that we go through every day at work. You know, like I can count how many times it's always just like, oh, well, where did you get your doctorate from? As if I got it off the back of a cereal box instead of going to school just like everyone else. Or, you know, when they're calling everyone Dr. So-and-so and I'm Nicole. And the only difference is, you know, is that I'm Black. So it's just, we go through it every day. And it's like, I think, you know, what made it so emotional for us is that we saw it front and center, you know, everything that we go through. Like, you know, of course it was magnified for her because it was televised, but, and it also just shows our strength and our resilience. So even though, yes, it did make me angry, but then still just so proud that as Black women, although we take it every day, you know, we still continue to come back and show up and do what we need to do.
It's really tiring though, like if I'm going to be honest. It's exhausting because when you watch your counterparts not having to jump through those kind of hoops, you're only human. You know, you're only human. And, you know, I've been in spaces, boardrooms, whatever, and where it feels like your voice is minimized. Like, Nicole knows this story, Brie, but there was one of these days we were in a meeting when we used to work together. When I talk about like nobody hears your voice, like literally I felt like I was not talking because every time I said something, nobody would respond. So Nicole and I were the only Black people in the meeting. And I would say something and this
Were y'all the only two that picked up on it? Y'all were like, hold on, what's happening here?
I actually had to say something about it because I almost thought it was like an out of body experience. Like, this can't be real. Brie, I lied to you not. every time I brought up an idea or a suggestion, I would verbalize it and they would act like I didn't say anything at all. And then this Caucasian gentleman would say verbatim exactly what I just said. And they were like, oh, yeah, we should do that.
I guess she cared. She would turn to me. Didn't I just say that? I'm like, yeah, you did. And like after the third time, she just like not lost it, but of course, because she then sticks up for herself, then it's like, oh my God, like what's wrong with her? And it's just like, well, I literally said that the same thing 4 times and it went, unacknowledged. So it is draining, but like I said, it just really what can you do? That's why I just choose, we have to create those spaces for ourselves. And that's just really what it is, because they're not going to change. You can beat your head up against the wall trying to get them to see you and all these things. Hey, guess what, guys? You want it, you got it. And I'm gonna go and just do what I need to do. And like I said, we continue to create these spaces on our own, because again, I don't see it changing anytime soon. Like Bree said, we're going to continue to have the first Black something for many years to come, and it just is what it is. So yeah, that's why I knew, I was like, I can't be plugged in, because I just knew it was just going to just send me over the roof. So
I get it. I mean, at this point, it's either you're making your own table or you're pulling up a folding chair to theirs.
Right.
I mean, because you can't always just be waiting for somebody to give you a seat at their table. At this point.
We've been grabbing them though. We snatch them now because like you said, at this point we don't ask. Like I'm not asking for permission, and I'm also holding myself accountable to call people out on the stuff, because it's like, we can't even expect change if we allow the same exact situations to continue to happen. So I think that's part of the responsibility too. When you get that folding chair that you said, that's cute too. Folding chair, but when you do get that folding chair at the table or whatever it is that you got to do, or build your own, bookend or whatever you have to do to get there, we have like a responsibility not to be fearful in those spaces, because when we get there, and if you're just a body, if you're just another Black person or another Black face, but you're not actually effectuating any structural change, because now that you're there, the responsibility is even greater, because other people aren't. So now it's on you to, in meetings when people are hushing you or not ignoring your face, to figure out how to get a bigger voice. Like it's scary, it's very scary, but the alternative is that we get into these spaces and then nothing changes, which I think is even worse.
And chances are, if they're not giving you a seat at that table, your whole community doesn't have a voice. So it's up to you that when you pull your little mini table, your folding chair, or you taking somebody's seat, that you are representing your community, because there are ideas that they have that they're putting together, that they're putting in their policies, that they're building into their structures, that they don't even know how they affect your community. That's up to you, because you're the only one there, because they didn't even want you let you have that seat. Right. So obviously they don't care about your community.
But basically, and they barely care about you. So
basically, because they didn't want you in their seat.
Exactly.
And it's animosity that you got there.
Right.
Like, who left this door open?
Exactly.
Affirmative action sucks. Like that's how they. I feel like when we in those spaces, they want to just put a scarlet letter A for affirmative action on us. Like we only got there because we're Black, or because we're a minority, or because we're a woman. Like, no, honey, it's my credentials. Look at the wall. Like I got here the same reason. Actually, I probably got here for better reasons, because you might have known somebody that works here, or it's a legacy or whatever. Because they were even talking about like Harvard, to get into Harvard, like most of the people there are legacy kids, not because they're brilliant or the brightest or whatever. Their parents are donors, their parents went there, or their parents are on the board, or or it's athletic. So a lot of the people who are there are not even there because they're necessarily these academic scholars or anything like that. Those Ivy League schools are built upon legacies. So your great grandfather, which is why we're not in those spaces, because our great grandfather was a slave. So how do we build those legacies? We're starting from scratch, even in those spaces. So that's just the message that I have for anybody. Like when you feel in those spaces, you belong. Like that's the thing that you have to remember. You do belong there, because everything will tell you you don't.
Right. But also knowing when it's also time to leave too. And I think, that's because someone feels like, oh, well, I got to carry the whole struggle on my back, but there's going to be some situations where it's just not going to work out. And, I think when I left my job last year, that's the best thing I could have ever done. Because now I'm like, I'll just leave. Like, yeah, I'll try, you know what I'm saying? But what I'm not going to do is kill myself and be all stressed out because y'all not trying to see how y'all lack diversity. So, you know, I see it both ways. Like, yeah, it's our responsibility, but at the same time, you know, don't kill yourself, you know, trying to get people to see something they don't want to see, and they have absolutely zero interest in trying to see.
That's true.
That's a good point. Burnout, because then you can't use your gift someplace else.
Yeah, and I think, Nicole, you said earlier, sometimes you gotta just make your own table. I think that really speaks to that. Sometimes, listen, I'm not going to be doing change at your table. I'm going to do change of my own, and then you'll eventually see how it's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
You could set the precedent or the, you know, the tone. And we could see in our organization, Bree, that we were right. Like, because the diversity has gone this way, and so has the enrollment. I don't think that's a coincidence. Like, who's going to want to come to an institution they don't ever see themselves at? Like,
yeah, representation is everything.
It does matter. It absolutely does.
And it's kind of sad because in 2022, who wouldn't see that?
Right.
Like, who doesn't know that representation is everything? But here, people really don't know. But
there's people out here
know that right now.
You just be like, I know. But...
like, are we not 21st century?
Yeah, like it's 2022.
We're not new here. We're not from a different planet.
you should know that at this point. And if you don't know that, it's because you don't want to.
Exactly.
Or you don't care.
Basically, they don't care. So
yeah.
No company has ever gone under because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, nobody's ever been like, oh no, the reason why we don't do it is because if we let other people in here, it gets worse. Like, it's never gotten worse.
God.
Never. Like, it's only ever gotten better because you have to think about, let's just say like it's a company that provides a service, right? They have customer base. How big is your pool of customers if all you're thinking about is your experiences? Because if we're real, that's really all we all think about. That's what diversity is about, because you can bring people's experiences into a space. I don't know what it's like to walk around as a white man. I can't pretend to know. I can see the results of it, but I don't know what it's like to be one. So you can't sell a service to a diverse population and you don't know anything about the people in that population. So it's never going to hurt your company to get different perspectives. And that's just not even just racial, like age. You know, people who are in their 60s and 70s don't understand the TikTok generation. Like, they don't understand. Our generation is kind of the bridge in reality, like the millennial, like whatever is the bridge between those two things, right? So there's this whole subsets of people. You need diverse thoughts. You need people from different areas. You need, the same way you do need some people who have the wisdom of the age. You need the newer kids. You need them all. So it's like, your company can't look like a golf course or, you know, whatever it is. It just can't anymore. It doesn't make any sense.
That's happening in different communities, and that's fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was just exhausting, y'all. It was exhausting. I mean, I got to give it up to her though, because I don't think I had the fortitude to go through 3 days and like almost 36 hours of questions. Like, I couldn't have done it. I ain't never gonna make it to Supreme Court. I ain't got no aspirations to be on anybody's court, because if that's what it takes, and it's not gonna, we gotta keep her in prayer because it's not gonna stop there, because she's obviously gonna get confirmed. She has the votes, but you're going to get confirmed into a space where you got integrated, basically. I mean, there's been, you know, Thurgood Marshall was technically the first African-American on the Supreme Court. And then you had Clarence Thomas, who was like beige. And then I was going to say, is she going to now? Right. I didn't know if you was going to mention him or not. Then we had like a beige person on the Supreme Court.
Oh, goodness.
I'm sorry. I'm never going to forgive Clarence Thomas for Anita Baker. I'm not Anita Baker. Anita Hill. Whew. I was like, because I'm going to need it too. It's like,
right. Not Anita Baker now. That's my girl. Don't.
Oh, wow. No, but so we had like a beige person, but she's the first Black woman. And we know as Black women, we have this responsibility in society to like just make everything better. And it's exhausting, but So we got to keep her in prayer because I don't think it's going to end at the confirmation hearings. Like, I think she's going to spend her tenure, and she's young. So, it's a lifetime position. I hope it gets easier as it goes, but she's going to go on a Supreme Court that's still not that diverse. There's one Hispanic woman, and then the beige man who's not her help. He's not going to be a help to her. And then her. So it's going to be, it's going to be a uphill battle for her. It's not going to end. Every day her job's going to still be made difficult, I'm sure, especially because there's ideological differences on the board, and the majority doesn't agree with her. So we got to keep holding her in prayer. But we're thankful she's still, I see her on the same level as, or higher than trailblazers like Lizzo and Rihanna and people who are trying to create spaces. The way Lizzo is creating spaces for women to embrace their bodies, the way Rihanna's teaching business entrepreneurship and loving yourself and being real is the same way, Judge Ketanji is teaching us that it's okay to be like the smart girl. It's okay to be different. It's okay to be all of those things. And, being the first, what doesn't kill you, make you stronger type of thing. So
I agree.
I don't know, but yeah. So proud of her.
Absolutely.
Any closing thoughts on these ladies? This whole Black woman burden.
We just keep going. That's it.
That's good. So before we end the conversation, that's a good point, Nicole. So what do you do, and what do you do, Bree, to sort of recharge yourself and revitalize yourself so that you can keep going, especially as a Black woman?
Well, like I said, for me, it's important to unplug. So, I don't get, highly charged and like mostly charged. I don't tune in. I tune in a little bit, then I unplug. Like I said, for me, my mental health is important. I always make sure, that I'm, talking to my therapist. That's the best way for me to kind of recharge, because, we kind of, the week can, be stressful and things can, get away from us, but just to have that place to just be unapologetically me and raw and real and all of those things, that's important. And just like you said, self-care and just making sure that, I'm staying true to who I am, what it is that I'm trying to do, and just not getting, bogged down by the thoughts and opinions of other people.
I be over here watching Netflix. I love Netflix and TV. Sometimes I kind of do what Nicole does. Unplug. Do what I want to do. There's always going to be another project to do. There's always going to be more work to do. There's always going to be a problem to solve. So guess what? I can take a couple hours to chill. I can go work out. I can do what I want to do. For me, guess what? The problem going to be right back in the door when I get there. So it's okay to just, all right, I ain't dealing with that right now.
Absolutely.
So that's fine.
I think I combat it with Black girl joy, just doing fun stuff, brunching, getting dressed, like just kind of just living in the space of like being happy, like luxury, treating myself, like going on vacation, hanging out with my girls, like, that kind of stuff is, I think, what keeps me very sane. And also humble. I think it keeps you grounded. And it reminds us that we're amazing people and we should be proud of ourselves, and people should just be proud of themselves in general. But as a Black woman, being around other Black women is what does it. Like, we just had our retreat in Baltimore last weekend, which was so recharging. My sister, my cousins, we all were in a house together, and it was just like no drama, no none of that, but just recharging each other, because we're all going through our individual struggles right now. And it was just really great just to kiki and like make some margaritas and like take cute pictures and like make some TikTok videos and call it a day. So that's kind of how I stay balanced and recharged. So oh yeah, it was heavy, but as always, we just thank you guys for listening to us. Again, please feel free to follow us on our individual social media platforms, but particularly on our B.N.Z Instagram page. And you can find us at BNZSistahSS. If you have any topics or anything that you want to discuss or any questions for the ladies, we'd be happy to hear from you. Our email address is BNZSistahs@gmail.com. And we always love to hear from listeners. We're always down for suggestions that don't come from our own brain. So we're happy to hear from you. And we just thank you so much for listening to us again. So thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow us today at BNZSistahSS.